Welcome to Big Brother NSFW. We're here following the Week 10 eviction of Johnny's good friend and sushi buddy Memphis. And we have with us a very special guest. This is a guy who knows how to make good TV and also be a strategist, unlike some of these goons. Shields up. This guy's the enemy of salads, but the apple of Marsha the Moose's eye. Peter Brown from BBCAN. How are you, Peter?
I am great. Thank you for that very, very lovely introduction. I feel so flattered and honored to be here as part of the show today.
Oh, man, it's very good to have you. You were one of my favorites from one of my favorite seasons, so can't wait to talk about it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We do prep work here. It's great.
All the best shows do.
Yeah, I hate to be a Debbie Downer here, but I have to start with a little bit of negativity. Once again, this is now the third case of blatant CBS false advertising. Very, very disappointed. We had a few minutes. Well, we all watched the Big Brother Eviction episode tonight. Had a few minutes before we went live here. And I don't know if you guys are aware, there's a show called The Neighborhood that comes on immediately after Big Brother on Thursday nights. Nope.
No.
No, I thought it was kind of like a localized thing for each viewer. And so I thought I would be seeing My Neighborhood. And I didn't recognize a single house on the street. There was a cul-de-sac. There's no cul-de-sac in My Neighborhood. I mean, once again, like last night, I thought I was going to be watching The Amazing Racist. Not cool. I was ready to tweet and be like, I don't accept this. No, it's The Amazing Race. So that one I'm happy about. SEAL team, no SEALs.
Yeah, and in case you're wondering who makes every fan post on Facebook, Johnny Fairplay is every Facebook commenter. Thank you.
So yeah, The Neighborhood, not My Neighborhood. So I just thought they were just really embracing technology, and they so no, not at all. It's like a sitcom. Horrible.
I'm sure that your neighborhood would be much more entertaining than whatever they're putting on their network right now, to be honest.
My next door neighbor's name is Cluck.
How does it get more entertaining than Cluck the neighbor?
If I'm writing a show called The Neighborhood, I'm going to have a neighbor called Cluck in there.
Absolutely. I think that was Larry David's inspiration for the Kramer character on Seinfeld. So,
wow. Rumor innuendo.
Right?
It's not
exactly.
So, wow. Oh, real quick before we go any further, I did prepare some tea, but I am a man and did not use a kettle. So thank you.
I have never seen that or heard that. So
what, making it in the pot?
Yeah, he was spilling it everywhere.
Yeah.
That was so inefficient.
Yeah, my mom used to make tea in a pot, but we make like sweet tea here in the South. She always made it in a pot. We never had a tea kettle.
Do you think that's what Memphis is doing? He's wanting to mix some sugar in? Or sorry, Enzo?
Oh, Enzo, because that's Enzo's Jersey through and through, right? So I don't see him adding sugar to his tea. I think he would enjoy it immensely, but I don't think that's.
People in New Jersey don't put sugar in their tea. Is that your theory?
I don't think you guys make like sweet tea.
We don't put enough sugar. When we want to put a straw in, we don't want it to like stand up in the middle of the glass.
Yeah, that's Southern sweet tea. I mean, it's half sugar, half water, if made correctly. So it's a tough swallow. Wow. We are down as a result of the end of this episode to the final four. I just want to say thank you for this ending. I think that's the high point for me. In case you guys did not notice, I am wearing the commission shirt available at johnnyfairplay.com. And with every t-shirt purchase, you get a phone call from me, Johnny Fairplay. You can be the fourth person to own the commission t-shirt. Thought this alliance would make it to the end. I was mistaken, but covering my commission t-shirt went with the Levi's denim shirt, just like my boy Memphis would. So an ode to Memphis. I feel like this is like, we had Dan's funeral back in the day. I feel like this is Memphis's funeral tonight, courtesy of Johnny Fairplay.
It's almost a Canadian tuxedo, like just a little bit more denim.
I am wearing a darker denim below.
Wow, it's the modern. We're in 2020, so you got to update the look just a little bit. Memphis was a throwback, but he's also been a throwback player all of the season, which I personally thought was pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I thought he played a great game. So, I mean, people can, have issues with some of his comments throughout the season, but as far as strategy, I thought he played a great strategy, and and he had a, Cody tells him, well, we'll get to the exit stuff later, but I if I had to rate Memphis's game here on BB All Stars, solid B.
Totally.
At least, I mean, they got their entire alliance to the final 7, and I feel like once you get into the end game where comps become so important, there's a lot of luck in the end game, in terms of what the comp is, etc. So I can't criticize Memphis's game. I mean, I don't think he was great TV, but he played a solid Big Brother game.
I mean, it is weird because comparing him next to like Cody, I do now with hindsight say Memphis was pretty entertaining. Like he told people what it was when he needed to. He had the thing where he hurt his back when he wasn't even in the competition. He's got a few moments.
Yeah. The highlight for me was Nicole making the pitch to save Ian and she like, and you can have that conversation in the jury house. I will be more than happy to make that happen for you.
Yeah,
that was a good moment.
I like the directness. So and he owned his directness. So But all right, so let's go back real quick to last night's episode. We had the POV. BB Comics, a favorite amongst the Big Brother loyals out there, and I enjoy BB Comics because you get a look at all of the house guests that we've had all season, and they try to embrace one thing about each of them. And I gotta say, kudos to Nicole A for getting the podcaster. How cool is that?
Yeah,
that is very cool.
As a house guest, it's definitely something that I would think would be something that you would really look forward to. It's part of the end game in the Big Brother USA season, especially the modern one. And then to be a house guest and to be kind of immortalized in this very, unique comic book style, I think is really cool. For Nicole F., each of her 3 different comic book covers have been, the weird costumes that she's had to wear, which of course are Big Brother USA staples as well. So they've definitely try to integrate that as a big part or a key feature of modern Big Brother.
Yeah, and I can't imagine. I mean, if I were on this season and I was the podcaster on my comic, like that's my fucking logo for my brand going forward.
Of course,
yeah.
So and I mean we had her on the Monday episode, and I mean, she loved it. It's so obvious she loves Big Brother and embraces Big Brother and the realm that it's consisted of. And so, like, I could really see her being just over the moon, to have that cover.
But going back to Nicole F., though, really, that's again, I'm not questioning it, but so all 3 of her seasons, her comic was her costume, like meaning that they had nothing better to ascribe to her than she had to wear something funny.
Well, I mean, I think that's a negative way that you can look at it. A positive way is that the funny costume is one of the the staples of what Big Brother USA does. It's it's what Big Brother UK does a lot too. They put people in ridiculous outfits all the time, and so to be that house guest who is immortalized in this ridiculous costume, I think is a badge of honor, not necessarily a detriment relative to their contributions to the season.
Fair enough. I hear you.
But I'm a Nicole apologist because I'm her friend. So
there you go.
And I am not. And my point is just that, to me, like it's a sign that she hasn't done anything else that's more interesting in the house. But I am a big fan of the costumes. I mean, Johnny and I really disagree on that. I love the cheat. I love the schmaltz. I love, the weirder and more stupid and ridiculous it is, the better I like it. So maybe I'm just giving Nicole a hard time, which I tend to do.
Yeah. Are you going to the wedding, Peter?
I am invited to the wedding. I do have my official invite. Unfortunately, the timing is bad. So her wedding is December 7th to 10th, but I always go home every year. So I'm in British Columbia in Canada, but my home is in New Brunswick on the East Coast. In order to enter New Brunswick, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks upon arrival. So I have to enter New Brunswick on December 1st to quarantine for 2 weeks so that I can then have my, Christmas holiday with my family and friends. So the unfortunate, it just kind of overlaps that way. Otherwise, I would 100% be going to her wedding. I was really looking forward to it.
Oh.
So I've really come around on Nicole's game in the last week or two. As her friend and as a former Big Brother player, how do you think she's done this season coming back?
Well, look, Big Brother is like all of these competitive reality games are outcome oriented. You can dress up, however you like with people who are competitive, strategic, manipulative, entertaining, whatever. Ultimately, all that's window dressing. The objective of these games is to get to the end, to pitch your case to the jury in order to get the maximum, the majority of votes to be awarded the winner. That's really the long and short of it. However you get there is on you, and you get there however you can. So Nicole, coming into the season as a former winner, she should have been targeted immediately, was not, because she's naturally likable, charismatic, as a person to be around. And she was in a very effective, totally dominant alliance for the entirety of the season. So you have to hand it to her for getting, and they talked about it in the episode, like, how do you let a person that's previously won the game in the exact same way? Like, Nicole learned from all of her mistakes that she made in season 16, completely, outdid herself 1-2 years later. And now here she is 3 years later back. And I genuinely believe that if she's sitting in the end against anybody but Cody, she will win this game again and go on to be the first ever Big Brother USA 2-time winner. So I think whether you like Nicole or you like her style of play, which is very passive until it needs to be active, you have to at least tip your hat to the longevity of her game. She's going to exit this season being the United States house guest with the most amount of days spent in the house. I mean, just on paper, that's impressive regardless of your personal affinity for her.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, even in 18, I was also a bit of a Nicole apologist because, again, she was, people say she's not doing anything. I'm saying, well, she's not doing anything really, really effectively. And the people that she wants to go home keep going home while she lies in bed in court. So, I mean,
Exactly.
That is a legitimate way to play the game. And again, if she does get to the end, I think it is a powerful argument that, hey, I'm a winner and you idiots let me get to the end. Like I said, I'm not sure she doesn't win against Cody. She certainly does win, I think, against Christmas. Enzo, I'm not as sure. Maybe as you are.
Right. That's maybe the big question, like, if it comes to that point, because I would agree that I don't think Christmas beats anybody in the end. I just don't think that her personality and her game are going to be sellable to the jury. As the show has kind of indicated with their narrative, both Cody and Enzo seem to be the, quote, jury favorites, and the jury expressed as much in the episode tonight. So I think the boldness of, I think Memphis going this week is huge for Nicole if she has aspirations to be a winner this season, because Memphis was a huge player this season, at least from an internal game perspective, as the, quote, head of the committee and their big alliance. So I think that's a big notch on her belt. And then to add just the longevity and her past history, I think it's a relatively easy argument to make. It just depends on what the perspective of the jury is going to be in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, every person when they've left the house, JC Moonves has been telling them, like, hey, you got out by this group led by Memphis. So that's the narrative that a lot of them are going to be considering, whether or not they were told that by Julie directly, or that's the observation of production watching the house. So I can definitely see that, where we get a jury segment tonight where we're seeing a little bit of a repeat of the last jury segment where Danny is saying, Cody's playing a great game. Cody's playing a great game. I was trying to watch to see if anyone else was, how other people were reacting to that. They're not as bitter as I was expecting.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of think that all jurors are bitter ultimately, and I don't mean that as a disparaging thing. Like if you lose, like, look, everybody's entering this game because they love it, they want to win, whether it's just for the title or the money or some combination thereof, or the fame, whatever. But everybody wants to win. That's why they're participating. So to lose, you are naturally going to be upset, angry, bitter, however you want to call it. and so I think there's this misnomer out there that, bitter juries decide the seasons. No, a juror is only bitter towards the finalist if the finalist has done something to make that juror feel negatively towards them. The objective of these games is to make the jury, the majority of jurors, as I said before, feel good enough about you to award you their vote. So it's on the finalist to make sure that the jury is, quote, not bitter. These are all former players. They're all pros. They all kind of know the psychological and the social ramifications that happen after these shows based on the jury vote. So I'm happy to see that they all seem pretty content in there. But I think that feeling of content may shift a bit in 2 weeks when they actually get to that stage and they have to look across from someone and award them the title and the money of something that, I personally, because I know most of these people personally, that they've been dreaming about and hoping to, be called the all-star winner for so many years. They have to award that to somebody else. So there's definitely going to be some hurt feelings in there.
Yeah. I think we saw last week that the jury wasn't overly impressed with Enzo's gameplay. Yeah. And I think tonight it was reinstated to a lesser degree. I think the door was a little more open than it appeared last week, but the door was open only with the implication of you can win, Enzo. However, we have these big fucking moves that you talk about, and you have to win. And we have seen none of that, and continued again
tonight. Yeah. Right? I'm going to make a big move. I'm going to make Nicole break the tie, and then he didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's been his MO, is to preach big moves and do nothing for the last few weeks. But I mean, the reason I bring up what the jury's saying is just, I think that, going into the last couple of weeks, power rankings for winning, I would go Cody, Nicole, Enzo, Christmas. I think Nicole is in the second spot right now.
Yeah, that's literally exactly what I put out a few days ago. I put out if Memphis leaves, here's my kind of winner hierarchy. If Christmas leaves, here's my winner hierarchy. And that's exactly what I had. For Enzo, here's the thing, is that ultimately you're going to do what you feel is best for you. So the show is obviously always going to show anyone saying, I got to make the big move. I got to make the big move. That's just a classic production way to try to sell something as, potentially happening to an audience member. And then sometimes those are pushed or encouraged by the diary room, and sometimes they're natural things. But ultimately, a player is going to do what they believe is in their best interest at the time, regardless of what they're, kind of expositing in the diary room. So I think Enzo has actually, for the most part, done all of the right things for Enzo all the way along, because, he's still tightly aligned with Cody. That was his guy from Jump Street. He's in a potential final two scenario with Cody still. So from Enzo's perspective, he's in the exact position that he wants to be. However, as we've just established, from the jurors' perspective, they're not going to see Enzo has done the best thing for Enzo the whole time, and him trying to explain that game in the way that the Big Brother jury questioning works, which I think is very flawed because it's so accelerated and they don't have the proper time to explain their game. I think Enzo's game would be very difficult to explain, especially in contrast to Cody or Nicole in that scenario. So Enzo kind of does need the, quote, big move or the flashy move. He needs to do something demonstrable. Unfortunately, I think the only thing that would satisfy that requirement at this stage of the game is getting rid of Cody. And I don't think Enzo's going to do that, because from his own perspective, he wants to go to final two with Cody. So that creates a bit of a disconnect from Enzo's personal game philosophy perspective and how he attempts to get to the end of the game and what the jury is going to be looking for.
Yeah. I think Enzo needs to go with Christmas is Enzo's only way to win, I think.
I would agree. Yeah. I think, but that's more of an indictment of Christmas's game than, praise of Enzo's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was meant to.
The problem is he hasn't made big moves, right? Sometimes it's not the best thing for your game. Sometimes you do want to just kind of sit back and let people snipe at each other. But I can't even count. I'd have to go back and figure how many times in this game that he promised us a big move and didn't make it. Over and over and over.
Every other episode.
Doesn't make big moves. Doesn't promise us big moves either.
Yeah. So no, every other episode. And I mean, honestly, if his final jury speech is, hey, I was responsible for 3 hinky votes. Like that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not awarding you $500,000 if that was the only thing you did at the beginning of the game.
Right. Yeah, that's a hard way to sell yourself to a jury of your peers who are all, rabid Big Brother fans and players. That's a hard sell to make, I think.
Yeah, on Survivor, I don't even think Jeff would read those votes. He just read the four to vote you off the island and be like, and the other 2 votes will remain a mystery, right. And then they'll be sitting there. Dude, I totally fucked Pinner. Oh my God, it was great. Like, yeah, we don't do that shit here.
Yeah, he also hasn't won any comps in a while, which I feel like when it comes to the jury phase, it's kind of like, what have you been doing lately? One big move at the end can really supersede a number of wins early on, and he hasn't done anything in a while.
Yeah, tonight was an easy one. Like tonight, it should have just been like, look, I'm just trying to it's an easy follow-up conversation to Nicole, because Nicole's not if Nicole wins or she can't even play, but she's not taking Enzo to the end. I don't think she's not. I think Nicole takes Cody, which she shouldn't, or Christmas, and I think she's smart enough to take Christmas, and I think that's why Christmas is still there instead of Memphis.
I completely agree. Nicole, for all of her obviously her main alliance is Cody. They played together in 16. They've been friends for several years. But Nicole's a gamer, and she wants that ultimate prize. And she is probably aware that the jury is going to the move that the jury is going to value the most, the big move at the end of the game, in quotes, is getting whoever gets rid of Cody is kind of going to win, which creates some interesting scenarios once it gets down to that point.
And she's also smart enough where it's also kind of insanity, in which she's constantly talking to herself and or the viewers at home and talking out strategy and talking out moves, whereas Enzo, he's telling everyone else all of his thoughts, and those people counter with their thoughts. And I feel he's easily influenced with those counter thoughts. And he's like, oh, cool. Yeah. All right.
I think that I think what happens a lot to players in Big Brother, and I'm sure this happens to players in Survivor as well, and I know for a fact this happened with Ian this season, is you get so locked in to what you think you want to do. You're like, you come up with a game plan beforehand and you get locked into that, and you just keep repeating that over and over and over until you realize that kind of the house is against you, or the numbers aren't going your way, or you need to pivot. And by the time that kind of dawns on you, you're already in trouble. Fortunately for Enzo, I think, as you just illustrated, he's been doing things that otherwise would have got him caught had he been in a worse position through the entire game. But he's been in a good position, and he's still in a pretty good position, but now it's a time where that style of play that he's been locked into for 70 plus days might actually end up biting him in the butt, because, we're in the end game now. And if you're still not thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, even though there's only 4 bodies that remain, and, as we saw Cody do in the episode, you're going to get burned. And so I feel like, Enzo might find himself in 3rd place again, which is obviously very respectable, but that might hang over his head for, another 10 years.
I think the only way Enzo wins, that's what we said, the person who takes Cody out could win. If Christmas is that person, I'm still not sure if she wins.
Right.
But she'd have an argument, right? Let's say she wins this HOH and she gets rid of Cody. Whereas Enzo, I can't imagine Enzo ever cutting Cody. And that
for the same reason that Cody didn't cut Derek, right? I mean, just you form these inescapable bonds. You're from the same area geographically. You maybe have some similar lifestyle attributes. Both large families, whatever it is, you form a bond with somebody. They become your genuine, real friend. You spend so much time kind of playing with each other. Cody knows all of Enzo's moves. Enzo knows, most of Cody's moves in that particular exchange. But you get so locked into these people that you convince yourself that, wouldn't it be great if me and my buddy were in the final 2 together? And how many times have we seen people get burnt that way?
Cody can do that,
right?
Sorry, what was that, Karen?
I was just saying, but Enzo saw season 16. Right?
Yeah.
So you want to play Cody's game up until that last spot where you have to cut the person who will beat you if you take them to the end.
Oh, it's time for big fucking moves.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the problem, I think, of modern Big Brother anyway, is that this logical fallacy of like, when is the almost opportune moment to make the big move, and people kind of wait. They wait for the doubles, they wait for the triples, or the instants in Canada. They wait for these kind of unusual weeks to make, quote, the big move. And then at a certain point in the game, once the kind of second half of the jury phase enters, you're sort of in this weird holding pattern where the only, quote, big move to be made is at the very end, which is not a great way to play from a game theory perspective, because you should always want to do what's best for you in the immediacy.
Yeah.
If there's a big threat that can beat you or has the potential to beat you in a competition. And look, I was a victim of this myself. I made many moves against my better judgment because I was convinced in my own head that I would, I'll be able to do it later. It's the tomorrow fallacy. But so many times where it's like, okay, I know this is the big move, but I'll do it later. I'm gonna wait for later. And later, by the time later comes, it's day 90. And, it can come down to rolling a ball in the wrong hole. And then there's your entire game because you're waiting for one moment to capitalize.
The best time to make a big move is the first opportunity that you have to make that big move.
Exactly.
Like if you have someone that's a threat that is a threat in any major way to your game, that's probably not going to change.
Yep.
So, if there's someone that's just like, wow, I hate that person. There's no reason to wait to get rid of that person that you hate. Zero.
Yeah. I was afraid they did get rid of Tyler. I was afraid that they were going to, because there was some of that, we'll get him later. And there was a decent chance there wasn't going to be a later if they had not taken him out, and they did.
Yeah. Well, but they had an opportunity to get, Danny had an opportunity to get him out before, and that could have changed a lot of things going forward.
Yep. In Tyler's particular case, from my opinion, I thought he was a great player his first time, and I thought that he had the potential to really elevate himself to that tippy top status this time, but I don't feel like his head was in the game. I thought he was very disconnected and preoccupied with the outside world. I really wish we would have got a motivated and singularly focused Tyler this year. He's a great guy. I really liked him when we met a few years ago, and I think he's a really good Big Brother player. But he was just too preoccupied. And I think that's ultimately what beat him, because he was set up from the early stage of the game. And I really think if he wouldn't have beat himself, he could still be in play. But that's how she goes.
Yeah, I think Tyler playing All-Stars next year, if the timing were a little different, I think we're talking a probable Tyler win. I think he's that good a player.
He also thought that he was going to be playing with Josh and Casey, and so when he walks in with Kevin and Keisha instead, it's like, oh, I got a problem here.
Yeah, he has all the right skill sets. I just think he can't keep his head in the game.
And as I said, 2020 is tough. I mean, I think any year he's going to be missing his girl. But, fast forward to a year from now, he's probably going to be missing her a little less than he is this year. But, also with the insanity of the world as we know it, and especially, 3 months ago when they went into the house, you're probably thinking the worst, especially sitting in a hotel room for 2 weeks with no communication, your mind leaves you. So he probably entered the house at, one step below insanity.
Yeah. And you got to remember too, I mean, he's only 25. I mean, he plays as a older guy. And I mean, obviously he's very successful in his regular life, but he's still kind of just a kid in so many ways, like a kid in love. So
even worse.
Happy for him. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I forgot how young he is and how young he was the first time, right? To play the game that he played in 20 at his age is pretty damn impressive.
Oh, very impressive. Yes. Even with this year's, relatively disappointing run. You know, I kind of checked out on him when he checked out on himself and ostensibly tried to quit pre-jury. But I still think he's in that, you know, higher tier of, you know, Big Brother players, especially for, you know, a single season run. He's always going to be in that conversation.
Yeah, Peter, you brought up something I want to return back to a little bit. You said like this is one of the things that's wrong with modern Big Brother. The biggest difference that I have between watching BBCAN and BBUS is BBCAN's just fun. When did BBUS stop being fun, and how do we bring some of that Canadian energy back to BBUS?
So that's a really good question. And I think to answer the Canadian, why is Big Brother Canada fun part, which I agree, it is a more fun show. It's because Big Brother Canada is the rule structure of Big Brother USA with the temperament of Big Brother UK or perhaps Big Brother Australia. So those shows are much more socially driven. They are more based around fun. They're more people focused. I don't know where it happened with Big Brother USA, but when it stopped being focused on the people, you know, most of these episodes, they devote 30 minutes to a competition. There's no need to, Big Brother is not a competition show. It's a social experiment about ordinary people in an extraordinary environment. And we're, you know, in the classic seasons, we got to know the people and how they felt about their lives in the house and how they, you know, the interpersonal drama with everybody. Every diary room wasn't, well, I need to win this competition because, and I walked in the backyard and I saw this big setup and you know, the show, Big Brother USA has become so fixated on the television elements, which are the ceremonies, you know, the competitions, and anything that has, basically anything that has to do with, you know, the show is the entirety of Big Brother USA now. Whereas, you know, I feel like they used to spend a lot more time on just people being people, and in the diary rooms, it was about how they were feeling and what they were thinking, and not just of these kind of television segments of like, okay, well, we need to frame what we're talking about here to give, you know, context to lead to the next segment. It's all just rehashing and redundant, which is not really what you ideally should want to get from a Big Brother viewing experience. So I think if they start to focus on the people again, and they reduce their focus on the, you know, the overly produced elements, and I think the way to rebalance the game, because the game has become very codified in that, you know, if you're a majority alliance and you can win consistently, that's a pretty much foolproof way to play Big Brother now. The way that a Big Brother UK would circumvent that is to introduce social tasks routinely, not once a season, but like once a week, introduce a social task to make the social hierarchy of the house change. Because if I'm in alliance with somebody and then I do a social task and I have to reevaluate my personal connection with them, that might make me reevaluate my professional connection to them in terms of an alliance as well. And if this is done repeatedly and routinely, like it is in Big Brother UK, then you'll completely, you know, it'll be topsy-turvy. You'll never know, you know, who's aligned with who and why. And that should make it important, because the game has become so dependent on these dumb competitions to redistribute the power structure in the house that, you know, they've completely lost sight of what a Big Brother game should be. So I think if they introduce more social elements, that will negate the big alliance, and it'll make a much more entertaining and unpredictable game.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that'll also tell the stories that I'm watching the show to see, which is the human stories, not the story of how Cody won this competition. So
right.
Like we got, I mean, even talking like, you know, next time on Big Brother, it's, you know, OTEV is back, and it's not, you know, next time on Big Brother, will Nicole's anxiety get the best of her? And it's just like, ooh, I don't know. Do you think, or, you know, like that, like, and Survivor is kind of gone that way in some instances, in that, you know, every episode Survivor was, you know, it's time for the challenge. You go over something, under something, and do a puzzle. Every single episode. And it's just like, you know, do like, you know, you could do a simple challenge, like as we see in the competitions on Big Brother, like a 5-piece puzzle. And we get the win, like, you know, the winner is more so random than anything else. So we get our winner via that. And instead of, spending 15 minutes on over something, under something, do a puzzle, we have a 5-minute challenge where it's just a puzzle or it's just over something, whatever. And then you have the time to focus on the social interactions. And I know that, they're still filming you for 3 days for every episode. There's enough to work with to make a 42-minute episode of television with social interaction.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. I think the reason why those shows like Big Brother and Survivor put more episodic time into the challenges and the ceremonies and the evictions and eliminations and such like that is because those things that cost the most. So it costs a lot of money to make these elaborate builds, and as a player they're super fun to do. Like, look, before I went in the house, they asked what I was most looking forward to, and I said the competitions. They're like, oh, that's interesting because that's kind of not at all what you talked about in your casting. I was like, look, I plan on throwing all of them unless I absolutely need to win, but I still want to participate in as many of them as possible, because in what other time in my life am I going to get to do these bizarro carnival games for power in this weird magical house? So they're super fun to do as a player and as a participant. But as a viewer, like you're referencing the Survivor challenges. When I watch Survivor, I fast forward through the challenges. When I watch Big Brother, I fast forward through the challenges. The outcome is all I really need to learn. And like you said, you could do that in 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a half an hour of the show. And so, it's a show about people. It's not a show about, the production element.
Yeah, I think there's a formulaic ease that they use as a crutch.
Totally.
Right. And I was going to say, on Big Brother, at least they have the 3 episodes a week. So we also do get, these little moments, whereas in Survivor, you got 42 minutes. And if you're spending, it feels like half of that on the competition.
Yeah.
And then they have to find some trinkets. So that's another 5 minutes.
Yeah. It gets just so regimented down in like the time breakdown of, what you need to tell the story in terms of, what the production has offered the contestants, as narrative elements. And you are losing, or you risk the potential of losing, some genuine people moments. Like, look at the things that were most reacted to on Twitter in the early stage of this game. It was all house guests talking about social issues and their personal lives. And that's what created the engagement and the conversation. And that's what, I often say that Big Brother is supposed to be a reflection of the world in which it's being played. It's this little, microcosm of the outside world in this magic little house. And we don't really get that anymore. We've lost the voyeuristic element of the show, and it's kind of turned into a cartoon. And I wish that they would go back to a much more sinister, style of show. Like, I reference Big Brother UK a lot because I do think it is the definitive version of Big Brother. And oftentimes, Big Brother is a character. Like, Big Brother interacts with the house guests, and he's this benevolent God that you don't want to tick off. And that's completely lost. Like, I cannot remember the last time that Big Brother as a character was an active part of the Big Brother USA show. And that's, and to make a comparison to Big Brother Canada, Big Brother shows up a few times a season. He showed up several times a season in mine. And I think that's if you look to the past to create your future is what I think I would tell to Alison Grodner moving forward after the reception this season has had.
And also, I think she should kidnap Arissa.
Yeah, or that. Arissa, dude, she loves Big Brother, like, genuinely.
Right,
like,
it's so clear she's truly a fan, and that I feel like makes all the difference.
Big time.
Yeah. Before we take a quick break, Peter, I just have to ask, you said you were excited for the competitions. What was your thought when the first competition you guys did was like put on a morph suit and hump some helium balloons?
Hey, look, I was happy to participate in any Big Brother competition, but when I walked into the backyard and saw a bunch of balloons hanging from the season, and it was just like, fill out this generic puzzle, no buzzer to hit, no confetti to go off, no nothing. It was just, I'll complete it and then you're good. Pelvic thrusting those balloons to get puzzle pieces was not my idea of a Big Brother Night 1 competition. And then I genuinely thought the budget of the show must be zero, and we are only going one season. So damn, I better win, because this is the only thing Big Brother Canada is ever going to get. But luckily, they got better each week, and now I think the Big Brother Canada challenges led by Trevor Boris are a great part of the show. I don't think they should be the focus of the show.
Yeah, I think they shared a budget with Australian Survivor, which I believe is $8 per challenge.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And they do a lot more with it.
Right.
We'll take a quick break to hear a word from some of our sponsors, and we'll come back and talk about the jury segment and the return of King Kaser.
This episode is brought to you by Fracture. Fracture turns your digital images into beautiful glass prints. That's right, they print your photos directly on glass, transforming your memories into handcrafted, frameless prints. Like this one. The one behind me, I have the Survivor NSFW logo with me, Matt, and Zach. Oh my God, it's the coolest thing. I'm so excited to have this in my life. Zach, tell us more about Fracture.
Yeah, Fracture helps you focus on the moments that matter most by turning your favorite memories into beautiful glass prints like that one. Fracture prints directly on really durable glass that has soft edges for safe handling. The prints come in multiple sizes, and there's no frame required at all to mount it on the wall. And each print comes with a 100% happiness guarantee. That means if for any reason you don't love your print, Fracture is going to make it right. The glass prints also make unique gifts for your friends and family that they'll never forget. Johnny, can you tell them how they can save?
Yeah, but before I do, I received this huge box with my Fracture print in it. At the bottom, there's even a screw to go into the wall. These guys are ready for this. Like, it's no additional mounting. There's none of that. This thing is ready to rock and roll. And boom, Fracture prints look incredible. You really have to see it to believe it. Upload your photo at fractureme.com/survivor to print your photo on glass today. And we have a special deal, and here's what we got. Go to fractureme.com. That's fractureme.com/survivor. Enter promo code survivor, and you get 20% off your order.
That's fractureme.com/survivor with promo code survivor, and you save 20% off your Fracture glass print. We thank Fracture for sponsoring this episode of Survivor NSFW.
Let's talk about something we could all use more of right now. Sex. Great sex. Now look, I love sex, Zach. I don't know about you. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. And I don't like a little bit of sex. I like a whole lot of sex. And so, guys, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. That's blue like the color blue.
Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis.
Now, you can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach, so you can be ready whenever an opportunity arises.
Not only that, Blue Chew is made in the USA. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor or wait in line. It's even cheaper than a pharmacy, and they prepare and ship it right to you in a discreet package. No awkwardness, and you don't even have to leave the house.
Now, if you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Guys, this isn't me reading ad copy here. This is Johnny Fairplay when he knows action is about to go down. I grab the Blue Chew, I peel it open, chew it up, and I go, get ready, we're going to Pound Town. Someone is going over. Someone is winning a championship tonight. That's right. And that could be you, because right now we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code SURVIVOR. Just pay the $5 shipping. Again, that's BlueChew.com, BlueChew.com. Use promo code SURVIVOR to try it for free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you help this podcast be possible. So please use our promo code SURVIVOR at BlueChew.com.
And we're back. So for another week, again, we get a whole lot of the Jury House, which I'm not complaining. I thought this was interesting. And they end up getting some love from home in what was sort of like a low-budget loved ones visit from Survivor. Did anything stand out to you guys from these video clips you got from the families?
It's COVID.
What's that?
It's a COVID loved ones visit. It's okay. I'm going to give a pass on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Look, I mean, I'm happy for people if they miss their friends and family and children and all that stuff. Look, I'm a single guy, so when I went into the house, I had nothing in the real world that I missed. I didn't miss my friends and family. I was in there to play a game and be locked into a magical environment. So personally, I always hate the from home segments. I don't like anything from the real world. I don't like the letters. I don't like the videos. I don't like the shout outs. When you're either in the house or on the island, in my opinion, it should be a completely contained, isolated experience. I know that's easy for me to say, as I just said, like, a single guy with no attachments. But I always groan when the people read their letters and get all emotional, especially in the early stages of the game, like, week 2 or 3, and these people have got like a month. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe that I missed my boyfriend. It's like, what? Like, didn't you come here to like achieve a goal and live a dream? There's a great moment in Big Brother Canada season 4, actually, where Tim Dormer, who was an international house guest that season, he had originally won Big Brother Australia, and he's experiencing his first letter read and almost starts to laugh. It has this moment of like, wait a minute, is this real? Doesn't quite get that as a trope over here, and I usually feel the same way. So I don't know. I'm happy that my friends had a nice moment to see their loved ones, but that's not what I watch Big Brother for.
Yeah, which on Survivor, our letters from home are written like 3 days after we leave.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, Thunder D, he was just like, if I have to do your letters from home, what do you want? I'm like, just send issues of the Torch. Like, I just just what I meant. Yeah. And so he literally sent, two issues of the Torch is all I'd come since I've left from LA. So like, I had the week in Miami for press, and then and then the next week they were just like, hey, and so he sent 2, which they didn't give me, and then his letter was fucking. He's just like, yeah, nothing's really happened. Like, they made me write this like 3 days after you left, so like, my letter is fucking dog shit, whereas other people are pretending it's been a month and they're trying to lift your spirits and all that.
Yeah.
But the best letter from home that I think I've ever seen would be on Australian All-Stars, and the Golden God got a letter from Luke Toki, and it was he had told him that his dog died.
Okay.
And then at the end of the letter, he was just like, he really didn't use this for sympathy, pull a fair play.
Right. Look, if you can use it for strategy, that's awesome. It's just like the 1 in 100 people that do. It doesn't take it up.
He actually read the PS to everyone as well.
Oh,
and
no.
He loved it. It was like, he could have used the dog thing, but he actually used it as a bonding thing. It's just like, how cool. We all know Luke. We're all friends with Luke. And Luke brought, and they're just like, oh, David, the Golden God's responsible for bringing us Luke joy.
Yeah, man.
So kudos to Luke for paying homage to me. I appreciate it. It's my favorite letter from home. I got to go back to last week's episode, or was it Monday's? I believe it's Monday when Nicole gets a letter from home,
and Victor doesn't say he's proud of her. Yeah,
even beyond it, there's got to be code. Like, do you think she there's some form of code in which he's saying you got to get fucking Memphis out of there?
Maybe coded letters are certainly a part of Big Brother.
Yeah,
I don't know what. Yeah, Dick did it. I mean, in my season, so my best friend, my strongest ally in the game, and still my best friend to this day, Alec, he received a coded letter, but it was so well coded that he didn't even pick up on the code. He was trying to refer to Andrew in the house as Gollum. Alec doesn't like the Lord of the Rings movie, so he was trying to say essentially something about not liking Gollum, and Alec had compared Andrew to Gollum anyway. It didn't click with him, and he was trying to give this like, hey, you should get rid of Andrew, which we definitely should have. But yeah, coded letters happen a lot in Big Brother. I feel like it's more of a Big Brother USA thing because now in Canada they do videos from home. It's not letters. So if she had something worked out with Victor beforehand, which obviously, why wouldn't you do that? Maybe send a little hint her way, but I don't know.
That letter is just so odd. I mean, just the verbiage did not make for a normal sounding letter in any fucking way whatsoever.
Well, maybe Victor's just not a normal guy.
The theories I've heard is that that it was a sign to her that she lost her sponsorships.
That's how it's been interpreted. Yeah, for sure.
But again, I can't prove it. But she certainly was not happy to get that letter.
No.
And then she went on, and then she went looking because she didn't get her pop. I don't know if that was also from the letter or what that was.
Coded for something else potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, as we said earlier, there's so many instances of Nicole pepping herself up, giving herself reassurance throughout the game, just internally.
Because no one else is.
Because no one else is. And sometimes you need to do that. You need to be your own best friend in there. And to receive something from the outside world, which of course is something that's going to be very valuable for her, from her fiance. They're going to get married in less than 2 months. Had to postpone the wedding in one reason so that she could go back and try to achieve this, now her third time playing, and second potential at winning. I'm sure that she was looking for something specific in there as a reassurance from the outside world. And if she didn't get that, that's probably going to be pretty deflating to someone like Nicole, who's, her whole she lives that influencer life, or at least she did before she went in. And so if she gets a hint that maybe the outside world is not going to be as kind to her as it was when she was going in, that's going to play pretty heavily on anyone.
Yeah, and by the way, I can imagine her not talk and like pumping herself up, because again, it's 3+ months with nobody that it's obviously a very stressful situation, and if that's what kind of keeps her going and keeps her positive, I'm actually okay with it. Yeah. I know it annoys some people, but it doesn't bother me.
Do you think if Nicole wins All-Star, she gets sponsors again? Maybe not those same sponsors, but you think the sponsors show? I mean, because she will be the only 2-time winner in the history of Big Brother.
Yeah, I generally think that most of what has happened has been pretty reactionary, and largely based around the Twitter storm. Yeah. Look, there's some wonderful, great people in the reality TV fan base, but there are some psychotic, toxic people too, and they seem to be the ones with the loudest voice. And if they don't like a character on television,
they're all
on Twitter. Yeah, they will try to actively destroy their real lives, which I think is the worst part about the whole fan to show interaction. I think that's because most of the times it's not for a legitimate cause. It's basically, it's a very petty, I don't like this person. They lied to my favorite and they got my favorite out, and so I'm going to wreck their lives. So I think there's a lot of that. I think any objective observation of Nicole as a person, like it's very frustrating because what often happens, Big Brother and Survivor, these are games of deception and lies. Just the same as, hockey and football are games of physicality. If you are a very physical hockey player, that doesn't mean that you're a physical person or a bad person. Like the biggest bruisers on the ice are some of the biggest puppy dogs in real life. So if you're in the Big Brother house, exactly,
the red light's on, it's game time. I'm a bad guy. I embrace the bad guy role. If I wasn't such a bad guy, you wouldn't love that fucking good guy as much as you do. If Johnny Fairplay is, in 2020 and there's someone that you love that I'm going after, I'm making you love that person more. Yeah. Versus you not giving a fuck about that person. But that doesn't mean I need to lose my fucking job because you don't like me.
Right. Yeah, you are 100% right. And the problem is, that's kind of always been there, but it feels like with the advent of social media become a bigger part of the, viewing experience, has become much more prominent, and that people conflate, game behavior to personal behavior. And it's like, look, if we're playing Mario Party together and I steal your coins, I'm not a bad person. I'm just trying to win Mario Party. That's the same philosophy in Big Brother. And it really is deflating to see people, assign this hyper negative glint on these people who are trying to win a game that is based around deception and lying and manipulation and stabbing people in the back and getting one over on someone, and all of these things, which we normally celebrate if it's your quote fave doing it. But when it's someone that you don't like doing it, then it's suddenly the worst thing in the world, and then you've got to destroy their life. I hate that. I like to think that, the outside world, once Nicole gets back to her regular life, that a lot of those sponsors, once they actually interact with her directly, maybe she can explain some things, but I'm sure that she will have no shortage of interest, regardless of whether she wins or not.
I think she'll have new sponsors. I think if she wins, especially if she wins, I think she has new sponsors that didn't know about the other, and the cancel culture of her is non-existent 3 weeks after Big Brother All Stars is over.
Exactly.
People have short memories.
Oh, very much. I mean, Jeff Varner, who you had on your show, Karen, the Survivor and SFW Rewind. Jeff Varner outed Zeke during Tribal Council, and the next day, Jeff Varner's a realtor 45 minutes from my house in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hundreds of people took it upon themselves to call his job and say, you need to fire him for doing that.
Yeah.
And he was fired for doing, and it's like, what are you doing? If you don't like him, you have the right to not like someone. You have the right to be upset. But, this is something that took place during, that's game. Just, and if you hate him, boom, that means you get to love Zeke that much more.
Yeah, and people are also more multifaceted than that. You can't just say someone made this one mistake, they are now trash, must be destroyed on all fronts.
Yeah,
and
come on. Record, Jeff did not out Zeke.
CBS
Survivor outed Zeke.
Right.
I mean, that did not have to be shown on the television show.
Right.
I mean, it would have been a pretty weird Tribal Council. But, last time I checked, Jeff Varner is not a producer of Survivor. He didn't choose, and also, truth be told, production's just like, hey, if you need a Hail Mary, I've heard you talk about the fact that, Zeke. So, and yep. He went in, malnourished and everything else, and his head was, these sound like excuses. They are excuses. I wasn't there. I can't, but at the same time, I know there was a lot of factors going on that he made a poor decision.
I was harder on him than you are, Johnny, but I was very open with him about it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is that I do think he shouldn't have done it. I do think it had bad consequences for a lot of people. But I guess, I'm a retired lawyer. I've done criminal defense work. And I just always say that everybody is more than the worst day of their lives.
Yeah.
So, I do understand the pressures that were on him, and they were real. And that's why I, decided to have him on and talk about it, because I do think we have to talk about it. But at the same time, he made the decision.
Yep.
But even people, like I said, people make a poor decision. It doesn't mean that, you have to ruin their lives. Yeah. He instantly knew that he made a decision. If somebody is still, that's the other thing. If you're still defending the behavior, that's different. But he instantly knew he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, what else do you want from the guy?
So, and to bring this full circle, during the jury segment that we had tonight on Big Brother, we had Davon confront Tyler about, was his Black Lives Matter stand legit? And did he mean, and we briefly talked about this with Nicole on Monday, Nicole's feelings and I had to take a step back and look at it through her eyes, as a Big Brother contestant, which is eerily similar to that of a Survivor contestant. There's so much going through your head. Was he trying to quit to go see Angela? More than likely, yes. But was taking a stand for Black Lives Matter also a component? And not using it to I think putting it all together and definitely after seeing his reaction tonight, because he got a lot of slack for not answering that question with Entertainment Weekly and other media outlets, of using Black Lives Matter, and I think after what I saw tonight, I think they told him not to answer that because they're just like, we want it for the show.
Yep.
Don't steal the, like we're still making a fucking television show here.
Yeah.
This is our story to tell, not yours. So let us tell that story. And I really wish that they had been like, CBS has instructed, Tyler not to answer this at this time.
If that's true, they hung him out to dry by just returning those questionnaires with no response.
Yeah, yeah. So I think they could have accepted a little more responsibility there and hit. I mean, I think their reply would be like, we didn't want to give anything away, and it was only a very few days that that he did have this negative view, but it's just like, yeah, well, people were still felt negative for 3 days.
And the other thing also is that it's nice that Devon, at least on camera, is, fine and gives him a hug and everything. I don't think Bailey's going to have the same reaction to that. Maybe Tyler and Devon are going to be friends. I'll even give that the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think Tyler and Bailey are going to be friends.
I don't think that's going to have nearly as much to do with bringing Black Lives Matter into the equation, though. Like, I think they have so much baggage in their relationship between Tyler and Bailey that that's going to supersede anything that happened. And I think that the conversation that happened between Devon and Tyler about invoking Black Lives Matter was way longer than we saw on camera. And Devon is not giving confessionals saying she's cool with Tyler if that was not a really heartfelt conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, she's a straight shooter. She's a bad reader. She's a bad she ain't good at reading gameplay, but one-on-one, I like her chances. So let's talk about the actual videos real quick. Which video, like for me personally, I think the Devon video is the only video that made me cry. I mean, I there's a black pit where there should be a heart here for me to play. But like, I did, in preparing for Survivor, I'd never seen the show, and every season I'd get to Loved Ones episode and I would cry and I'm like, I have to be able to use this. This is so this is such a great weapon that I would like to have in my arsenal. And that's, when I came up with the dead grandmother lie. But, but I do cry when I watch the Loved Ones episode. And tonight, I was just like, this isn't Survivor. This is Big Brother. This is Zoom calls, or, it's not, in person. But the Devon, boom, waterworks. But like Danny, who I'm good friends with, and and a father to a daughter, like I thought that, it would pull the heartstrings a little more. I didn't cry on Danny, and hers is beautifully shot, by the way. Oh man.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool to see Dominic back on a Big Brother TV show. Like that was pretty much my takeaway from it. I was like, yeah, all right, we get some,
I just want to know,
get some alumni.
How do you put a sweater on a cat?
Was that a hairless cat?
Yeah, that would at least make sense, because I'm like, why is the cat wearing a sweater?
I need to get a sweater for my cats. I don't know.
I am not a fan of the hairless cat.
No, they're strange.
Very Dr. Evilly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't referring to the. Please continue.
Oh boy.
So the Angela one, I mean, even though Tyler just lost it, and I know, I mean, like it's so painfully obvious that the true love, from both of them, and especially him, still didn't cry. Me personally.
Yeah. It did remind me just how Angela really is beautiful. I mean, she really is.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. I think that reaction though is just the kind of reaction is just residual kind of discontent with Tyler wanting to quit for her. Like that's kind of where it came from. They're like, all right, well, you got to see her.
Yeah,
cool, man. Like you could have got to see her and won the game and got $500,000 too, but
yeah,
nope.
yeah. And it was just a 20-second Zoom call. So that
Yeah, that's it.
was it worth it? So, for the record, he did try to quit pre-jury. That was you know, he was not trying to quit to be right where he is right now.
No, you could even make the argument that he tried to quit, like his head wasn't in the game from day zero, because I don't know if you're aware, but when, to the best of my knowledge, when CBS originally reached out to Tyler, he was like, okay, Tyler and Angela, right? And they're like, no, just Tyler. And he's like, okay, well, if it's Tyler and Angela, yes. If it's just Tyler, I think I'm going to take a pass. Yeah. And then he started to reevaluate that decision and was like, you know what? Maybe this is my dream, and maybe this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go back. And he did, but I kind of think he was already in that. He was not in the game zone from before he even went in with the kind of tumultuous back and forth with CBS over whether, you know, he was even going to be participating with or without Angela in the equation. So it's a weird story for Tyler this year, I think.
Oh yeah.
None of the other videos really stood out to me. I kind of glazed over. I'm kind of with Peter on like, yeah. Can we get back to the eviction? Something about Kaser's coming to town. Let's
yeah. What up, Kaser?
Yeah.
All right. So we have the vote. It's time for Enzo to make his big fucking move that we heard about all season. Just to put a little, I mean, like, Enzo, you done nothing. This is it. And no. The beast Memphis gets his vote, and then, you know, with the 2-0 vote, 2-0 vote to evict, we see Memphis leave. Memphis not too happy when he walks out, and owned his game, and you know, and Julie's quick to mention, you know, are you glad you went with the 2 different wise guys alliances? And I appreciate Memphis and owning it. He's just like, no, I went in with an amazing strategy that, you know, was potentially put together before I entered the house. And I played that strategy to the hilt. Like, you know, we're playing poker, and these are the cards I'm holding, and this is the play that I'm making, and live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah, well, knowing how things turn out, though, and knowing that Cody is saying in his goodbye message that I turned on you because I found out about these competing wise guys alliances, was it a mistake? Could he have just done the final 3 bro alliance and rode that out, or would he have gone out in the same spot?
Do you think that's really
he might have
turned on him?
I don't think. Yeah, I know. I think I think if he doesn't make that second alliance, that he's still there, and I think he could have made that. He could have just, you know, made that secret 2-way alliance with or final 2 with Christmas, and not in like. I didn't see a reason. I mean, like, I get it. You know, like, you know, I'm a huge fan of the all-in philosophy. You know, and and if that's in your head that's your best move, you know, go with your gut and play. I think that was a percentage play, and I think percentage wise that was a smart move. So it didn't work out though. And with Christmas, I don't think it was necessary. Like I don't see that changing anything with Christmas and Memphis's dynamic by including her in that second Wise Guys alliance. 0.
Generally speaking, I quite liked the move because, you know, so many times people are like, oh, you know, do something unique, make the big move. Well, that is kind of a unique move. And it's a very old school Big Brother style to play. And like you said, you know, you play with the hand you're dealt. Sometimes you can, you know, move the cards around and get the right hand, as, you know, was largely speculated. But still, my counter argument to that is, you know, obviously people expect, you know, this alliance was formed before the show, but when you walk in day one, everything still changes. And the reason why they are successful is because they won all the damn time, and they were cohesive. And it's like, look, you can be a great coach and make a great play, but it's still dependent on the players on the field to execute that play to the best of their ability. So yeah, maybe they had a leg up going in, but you know, if Cody wouldn't have won that first HOH, if somebody else did, or you know, and Memphis won the second HOH, then Tyler won the third. It's like they were successively successful all the time. So, that's ultimately what they weren't successful because they allegedly had a pregame alliance. They were successful because the alliance, as it was on day one, was, they won all the time throughout the season. And Memphis tried to do something a little unique, tried to put himself first, went into business for himself, if you will. And it ended up, kind of burning him. But I'd rather get burnt on a play like that than, for example, Enzo constantly talking about making plays and then not doing it. So I think it's a very respectable way to go out for Memphis, who kind of came in as an alternate and someone who was largely forgotten and very underrated by the fan base. And I think now he'll be pretty well regarded as a very, very good Big Brother player overall.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was such a creative move. I loved the idea. My only concern with it going in, and it panned out this way, was you're kind of handing all your cards to a guy who makes tea with like a spaghetti pot. So Enzo knows where all the bodies are at that point. So. Yeah, I think if he would have chosen Christmas to be the central cog with him to form multiple alliances, I don't think Christmas is spilling those beans to anybody.
Probably not.
Not after the kiss.
Did they really kiss? Or is that rumor and innuendo?
Some people say they heard a kiss. Some people said no.
I saw it. They showed it on the feed. Like she walks over in the dark and she's like, "I can't see you. Like, where are you?" He's like, "I'm right here." And then she and you being is yep.
Wow. Romance blossoming in unexpected places in the Big Brother house.
Yeah, 3 days before you know that one of you is going home.
Yeah.
It's all right. That's foreplay. Come on, Karen.
Right.
I mean, actually, we could have added to the collection on bbnudes.com, but that didn't happen.
Oh, wow.
Oh, geez.
Thanks, Memphis.
Well, after Memphis goes out, the big news of the night is it was teased all episode. King Kaser returning, and I have to say, I am so annoyed with all the house guests for not understanding why he's called King Kaser. Like, come on.
Well, how great was it that they did? They're just like, that's where that came from.
Yeah, they definitely seemed out of the loop. They might have their Big Brother Superfan cards revoked after that.
Yeah, I would like usually about this time on the Thursday Eviction episode podcast, like right towards the end of the pod, we usually check Twitter or one of the fan groups to see who won HOH. I'm guessing we're an hour and 12 minutes into the podcast. They're still explaining the rules to Enzo at this point.
That's a great chance for that.
So Enzo's asking Cody, I think we heard Enzo asking Cody, like, how does this work, whatever. And Cody said, I don't know.
Yes.
Cody played on Big Brother 16, and I checked. I don't think he played. It was just a Battle of the Block comp in 16, so he didn't play. But he should understand how it works.
Nicole didn't say a word because she knew exactly how it worked.
Yeah.
Right.
She knows.
How disappointing, though, they teased this classic competition with Kaser, who was definitely wearing a lot of makeup in that hot backyard. And, the thing is since literally day zero, everyone's like, pressure cooker, pressure cooker, pressure cooker. It's like this infamous Big Brother competition that
I thought that's what it was going to be.
I know. And then they're like, nope, it's the other Kaser competition that you've definitely forgotten about. And then everyone's disappointed again. It's like sometimes Big Brother USA production seems to shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly. There's so many clear-cut, easy things that they could have done this year to elevate. They could have done so many classic competitions, had former house guests Skype or Zoom in all the time. They could have really made it this like retrospective of the whole series of the 20 years, and they didn't do any of that. Like,
that's what I expected.
And that, like, Final Four, suddenly it's like, oh yeah, let's play a classic comp. Let's bring somebody in.
Yeah. Hey, expect the unexpected.
Right. That's true.
No, this was the first time. this was the first time for me it felt like an all-star season again since like night one, where I was like, oh yeah, Big Brother history, cool stuff, nice. Too bad it's at the very end here, but
Yeah,
it's exciting. We'll see if Enzo can figure it out.
As far as the makeup, CBS makeup, oh my God, on like Survivor finale night, like you look in the mirror and you're just like, that's not me. Like they use like the airbrush to yeah, it's a bit much. And we saw it, as I said, I was just like, wow, that almost looks like Kaser.
Yeah, almost.
I mean, like I thought I saw him in the house earlier this season. Was he not available? They had to get it looked like Kaser to show up.
Dr. Will had to publicly address his makeup earlier this season.
Exactly.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Basically, like, it was super sweaty. I clearly didn't do my own makeup. Get off my back.
There you go. All right. Fair enough. Love Dr. Will.
Yeah.
So, all right. This is one of our last episodes. What do we have? Monday, we have Rachel Riley joining us.
Yeah. BBUS royalty.
Yeah, very excited about that. For those of you that did not catch last night's coverage of the Amazing Race premiere. Sorry, Jesus, I would hate an All-Star. So done with All-Stars right now. Yes, the premiere of the latest season of Amazing Race was last night. According to Twitter, a lot of people were surprised. So you'll be even more surprised to see coverage from Survivor NSFW. All that available at survivornsfw.com. And we have a really big surprise next Thursday. Well, I'll let that marinate. I won't spoil yet, but holy moly.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. So, but Peter, before we let you go, who is your winner pick?
You know what? I'm going to go with Nicole. She's the closest friend I have left remaining in the game. She's one of my closest friends in all of Big Brother anyway. So I think she's going to do the impossible, overcome all the odds, climb the highest mountain, and plant her flag at the top of Mount Big Brother as the only two-time winner. What a beautiful... Twitter would implode, and I hope that it happens just for that reason alone.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I throughout the season, there were moments in which I really wish Nicole had owned her gameplay a little more, especially some of the more deceptive things that she did. And she never did. And maybe I would like to think that she can read that jury if she's there in front of them as a final two and take that ownership, because I think that is one of the only ways she's gonna win. Just be like, hey, I did this, and I don't feel like I felt bad at the time, but I don't feel bad because that's what you do to be the only two-time champion in the history of this game.
And if she had done that, I mean, that was really kind of my biggest criticism all season, was that she wasn't owning it. You go in there like, I'm the villain, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to vote out Ian, like I said, and not apologize for it. But I love to think that she's going to do it on finale night, but I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, consider this. Look at the person that she defeated in her win season, Paul. And largely, what is the reason why Paul didn't win? Is because he had poor jury management and he didn't own his moves. So Nicole should know. And this happens a lot in Big Brother. There's been several finalists who don't own their moves in the end, and that's the kind of big contributing factor as to why they lose. She defeated someone who made that mistake. She's stopped the show since then. She's very Big Brother savvy. So I would hope to think that when it counts, when it really counts, and the only time that it does count is when you're pitching your case to the jury, that she will own all of her deception and duplicitous nature throughout this season, and say that she did everything that she needed to do to get into this position as one of two winners in the game, the winner who lasted the longest in the season, especially being a girl, diminutive girl. So let's hope that she does that. I think it would be a really interesting narrative finish to the season.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a friendly, apologetic, not non-ownership, as great as that might make her feel inside, it's just like, hey, like, this is what I really, like, I don't think anyone appreciates that. Like I think if she sits there, stares them down and is like, yeah, I did it. I had to do it. And I would do it again. I think every single one of them is like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I completely agree. 100%.
There's nothing to gain by being nice. So, I mean, like, you don't have to be a dick about it, but like, but apologetic and, well, not really, like none of that work. Like, I think these, like, I would just, because it's been painful watching it, and I understand, her profession is an influencer, and and there's so much that she does throughout the day, looking into the cameras with no one there, talking to the live feeds, like, hey, I'm not trying to upset anyone. I love all of you, and go to my Instagram. There's nothing on the Instagram. But like, I understand all that, but she has, 1 hour to just not do that. Like, it's just like if you felt the need to do that throughout the whole season, you didn't. But if you felt the need, great. But please don't do that for 1 hour if you have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's the conflict between being a genuinely good person, which I believe that she is, and a genuinely great player. Hopefully it's balanced in that moment when it needs to be towards the great player, side of the line. Because if she does that,
And even being nice, I don't like. I think when the game's over and if she's nice and doesn't own it and all that, like I think like by trying to protect these friendships in her head, she kills those friendships because they're just like, you wouldn't own your shit. I don't want to be your friend. Versus like the exact opposite of being a good person and just being like, it's a fucking game, folks. We all signed up for the same shit.
You're literally describing Amanda Kimmel in Survivor Micronesia. Like kind of getting there and hemming and hawing, not owning anything, and then burning the friendships you're trying to protect.
Yeah. She's still not friends with those people.
Yeah.
No one hangs out with Amanda.
Absolutely be on board if she does that, and I would be happy to be wrong. But
I would love it. As I said, she would win me over and I would support her, claim as potentially the greatest Big Brother player ever. Because I mean, people ask me, is Sandra Diaz-Twine the greatest, prior to season 40? And I'm just like, no one else has won twice. She must be.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's,
it's an outcome oriented game. So, I mean, if the outcome is you win when you play, that's a pretty good notch on your belt.
Yeah. So awesome. Peter, where can everybody find you on social media?
You can find me everywhere at also Peter Brown, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and you can pick up my novels. I wrote 2 novels during the pandemic on Amazon. They're available. You can find them on my Twitter sphere.
Oh, sweet. Peter, I'm also a novelist. That is very cool. I will have to check that out.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Yeah, Zach just had a new novel drop. What, last week? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I am officially a USA Today bestseller.
Wow! Congratulations!
Week, so.
That's awesome.
You.
So, and you thought we had him here just for his looks? No. No contraire, mon frere. Throw a little French because you're in Canada. They do that there. Yeah. So, everybody, a way to support the podcast is to subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you podcast. Even Amazon Music now has podcasts. Search Survivor NSFW. Click that subscribe button. Rate us 5 stars. Leave a review. Only if it's good. If it's not good, hit me up on Twitter and I will block you. Another way to support the podcast, go to johnnyfairplay.com. You can get this t-shirt. You can be the 4th person to get a commission t-shirt. The alliance that did not make it to the end, but almost. Final 5, close enough. And don't forget, with every t-shirt purchase at johnnyfairplay.com, you get a phone call from me, Johnny Fairplay, thanking you for your purchase. And lastly, the best way to support the podcast is to go to ad-free NSFW and become a patron. We have a secret Facebook group. It's a really awesome community. Karen and Zach started as patrons. They're fucking co-hosts of the show now. You never know what's going to happen. We have a weekly Q&A. We have a monthly Zoom call. We have fantasy football going right now. All kinds of fun stuff. give us a try. We have all kinds of tiers with all kinds of really cool stuff. We have a special discounted tier for our 3-year anniversary. You get an autographed poster illustrated by Eric the Ice Cream Scooper, signed by both me and Matt Bischoff. And all that is available at adfreeNSFW.com. And it's a lot. So,
thank you, everybody.
Peter, thanks again. And thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
2020 has been the year of things happening that are completely out of your control. But there is one thing that you can control, and that's shaving your bush. Our sponsors at Manscaped are here to remind you to do so. Well, see, my big thing with shaving my balls is, people are like, Johnny Fairplay, how do you get laid? How do you get some action down there? And we're talking, there's 3 major things that can happen to down there. I don't know how to make that happen for you, but I do know what will help make that happen, and that's shaving your balls and cleaning up your butthole.
And what'll help is the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. It's a premium electric trimmer that's designed to give you a confident boost through body image. Their ceramic blade and skin-safe technology are designed to reduce nicks or tugs on your fellas down there. The Lawnmower 3.0 is also waterproof, and it comes with an LED light so you can manscape in the shower, in the dark, in a dark shower if you want, whatever floats your boat. They also just released their Shears 2.0 nail kit, which is a perfect add-on to the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. Johnny, can you tell us about Shears 2.0?
Man, it is a luxury 4-piece nail kit. Just used it earlier today. And shaved my balls earlier today. Quite the day for me. I might take a nap now. It features tempered stainless steel tools, and it includes tipped tweezers, rounded point scissors, fingernail clippers, and a medium grit nail file. Now, real quick on these fingernail clippers, they might be the most cutting edge, amazing nail clippers I've ever used in my entire life. The Shears 2.0 nail kit also allows you to pluck your eyebrows and trim your nails in style. On their website, you'll also find the Crop Preserver, and that's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. This will help tame that summer swamp ass with natural hydrators and antioxidants.
You'll also find a Crop Reviver. That's a testy toner that's like having cologne that's designed for your balls. We won't judge you if we catch you sniffing yourself. Go to manscaped.com and check out some of these life-changing products.
If I could sniff myself like that, I wouldn't be shaving my balls. I wouldn't need to.
Take a rib out.
There you have it. Get the Manscaped Rib Remover Kit. It's go to manscaped.com and check out these life-changing products. In fact, listeners of the show will get 20% off and free shipping with promo code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com.
That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code SURVIVOR. It's time to grab 2020 by the horns by shaving that front trunk.